wildlife biologist Forrest Galante, and it's an honor to be reporting from the SDG Media Zone during the 76th session of the United Nations General Assembly. We're here today to celebrate Project CAT. Launched in 2016, Project CAT, Conserving Acres for Tigers, is a partnership between Discovery, World Wildlife Fund, and others to support a worldwide effort to double the number of tigers in the wild by 2022. By conserving nearly 6 million acres of protected land across 3 countries, this collaboration aims to ensure a healthy habitat for future generations of tigers and other large cats globally. We're also here to celebrate the partnership between Discovery and the United Nations Environment Program, which has culminated in a large-scale bronze tiger sculpture by internationally renowned artist Sonny Behan, which was unveiled in the UN Plaza yesterday. Who am I to be bringing all of this to you? Well, I'm a passionate wildlife biologist who has specialized in species on the brink of extinction. I grew up in Zimbabwe. I saw habitat and animal declines firsthand. When I was a little kid, I would look out in the African savanna and see antelope as far as the eye could see. As a young adult, those animals' numbers were reduced. Now, when I return to that same habitat, what I see is crops, cornfields, and no wild animals. More recently, my work on finding animals lost to science has led me all across the globe and into the living rooms of millions that care, thanks to my show Extinct or Alive on Discovery Plus. I've had the privilege and honor of working with scientists to rediscover 8 species once lost, and in doing so, have witnessed some of the worst and the best wildlife decline and restoration. A century ago, there were over 100,000 tigers roaming the planet. Today, there are less than 4,000 tigers left in the wild, a number that is less than the number of captive tigers in the USA alone. Poaching and habitat loss are the main factors contributing towards the extinction of the iconic tiger. Protecting this keystone species ultimately leads to protecting whole ecosystems, including other endangered wildlife, and the indigenous communities that also rely on the habitat. And this is working. Tiger numbers have grown for the first time in a century. It's now my pleasure to introduce world-renowned artist Sonny Behan, who is most well known for his majestic and intricate large-scale wildlife murals that are scattered across the globe. His unique style of art blends realism with abstract elements and washes of color that are driven by Sonny's desire to make an impact. Sonny, it's an honor to be speaking with you. I'm excited to ask you some questions and learn more about your work.
Yeah, I'm excited. Nice to meet you.
Beautiful sculpture, by the way. This is the closest I've been to seeing it, is behind your head there. I was watching the video as you unveiled it. Boy, when you're done with that, if you want to put one in my backyard. Well, look, it's very obvious that you have a passion for wildlife. I'd love to know, and I'm sure the people watching this would love to know, how and when did it begin?
Yeah, well, I grew up in the UK. I was born there, and then I moved to South Africa with my family. And, you know, I just fell in love with the wildlife immediately because, you know, we started going to the bush quite a lot. And, you know, I was 10 years old at the time. And I just remembered it was almost like going to Jurassic Park, you know, and especially when you go to like the Kruger or something, you go through the big doors and, you know, so it was just the anticipation of going to these places and being on the lookout for wildlife it was so thrilling. And then when you eventually see one, they were just, you know, absolutely majestic to me, you know. So yeah, I mean, that's essentially what happened with them being, you know, the natural subjects of my work, you know.
I, like yourself, grew up passionate and in love with wildlife and decided to become a biologist. You've gone an entirely different route and become an artist. Can you tell me how you're using your art to make a difference?
Yeah, I mean, what happened was, you know, obviously having a passion for animals, you eventually, you know, follow the breadcrumbs to realize that, you know, things aren't all well, you know. So that's, as I was growing my art career, you know, that was, you know, becoming an issue for me. And the two sort of met each other at the same time. I started doing public art and public murals, and these murals just seemed to attract so much attention from, you know, from face value on the streets, but also online. They were shared a lot on social media, blogs wrote about them quite a lot. So I took the opportunity to sort of use that power and start raising awareness for conservation.
Sure.
And ever since I started doing it, I've just tried to get messages across, whether it's the animal I'm painting, or somebody I'm working with at the time, or a new issue that comes up. And it's not just conservation. I do a lot of things with climate change. And yeah, I mean,
we grew up in Africa where you get to see and experience these animals. But I think, through regardless of the type of media, whether it's television or sculptures or paintings, you sort of give people the ability to see how majestic these creatures are through that new medium, because not everybody can head to South Africa and go on a safari. So I think that's a wonderful way to inspire people. Have you felt something similar to that?
Yeah, I mean, what I tend to do that's a bit different is I don't try and shock people, and I don't, with the imagery that I paint, I more celebrate nature. I'm more likely to, paint a beautiful animal that people are like, drawn to, and then feed them with some information about that animal. Especially I paint a lot in big cities like New York and London, and these places are surprisingly really disconnected from nature. And
sure.
it only like occurred to me how drastic that was when the average person couldn't name the animal I was painting.
Right.
And when I realized that, like, if they didn't know the animal I was painting, they would never know the troubles that animal are facing on the daily, So it becomes a weird educational thing. And it's cool when I'm painting on the streets, you're having conversation all the time, because I'm on the streets for like a week painting.
Sure.
So these conversations are happening with the people on the streets, and obviously they spread the message, and then they obviously share online, and yeah, it's a really cool medium to connect people to nature that wouldn't, like you say, wouldn't ordinarily jump in a plane and go to where you come from.
What's the benefit of working with partners like Discovery versus just sort of doing it on your own accord?
Look, working with Discovery really helps because they have, a massive amount of reach on their channels, and influence in various areas. And we work with, the right people with WWF, and yeah, I mean, it's just better to get the message out. Working with companies like us. I mean, all companies should have projects like this of their own. Right.
Sonny, tell me about your inspiration behind Abhaya.
Well, the name means fearless in Sanskrit. Okay. And we drew on the name because it's obviously very appropriate for the times that we're going through now, and we can draw from being fearless to get through it. But also, it sort of celebrated the resilience of the tiger. As you said before, they're in decline for a century, and now, for the first time, they're returning. And it's only because of efforts like Project Cat and others that have teamed up to change that. Yeah. So that's the name, and then in terms of how I put the sculpture together, it's in my work, in my paintings, normally I play with realism and abstract, and a lot of the time it's dripping and breaking away. Mm-hmm. And in my work, it represents the chaos and the order, and also things disappearing or repairing. So with the tiger, the abstract part is breaking away and the tiger's disappearing, but at the same time he's jumping forward, so he's fearlessly pushing forward as as a species, and coming alive, coming real. The front half of him is realistic, and then the color that you see that goes through him, that represents hope. That's the color that these animals bring to our planet, really. And yeah, it's just a symbol, of that resilience, that the tiger has shown, and it's, we just want it to be, just a reminder that we should be protecting and conserving these animals, not just the tigers, just all wildlife, really.
That's amazing. The statue was unveiled yesterday at the NASDAQ closing bell, which is what an honor. What is the significance of the statue's placement, specifically being at the UN?
To put a sculpture at the entrance of the United Nations is, it's such an honor. It's like it took a long time for it to sink in what was happening, because you're so focused on getting the project done, and yeah, it was quite an honor to do something like that, and then for it to also be there for the General Assembly, where the world's leaders are walking past it and entering every single day while they're talking about these topics and discussing these topics, and to have the sculpture there as a way to be the symbol for us to respect nature and protect it, it's an absolute honor, for me.
Sonny, congratulations, and thank you for your beautiful work, beautiful symbolism, and the fact that you're drawing so much attention to conservation and to nature. It's been an absolute honor speaking with you today.
Thank you. Yeah, likewise to you.
And thanks to the United Nations and the UN Environment Program and Discovery. And to learn more about Project CAT, please visit projectcat.discovery.com.